maybe most of us minimize before we even start, oh, I wasn't really that big a deal, but I did this, So when I'm teaching people to write about the drama in their lives, oh, this is for my grandchildren because no one's going to be interested, else is going to be interested. No one's going to want to read this. Maybe they won't even want to read it. I just had this ordinary life. Well, yeah, but people want to read about ordinary lives too, because we read books to learn how to live.
Welcome to GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, the Going North podcast, where authors from around the world help you realize that success is tangible. You'll leave with at least one new piece of inspiration or information to help you keep going north. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North podcast. And we got another super special, awesome human for you today, folks, because my goodness, we got a wonderful lady who's not only a writer, but she's also a multi-award winning writer. And to make it even better and not butter, she's a retired librarian, y'all. She used to be a librarian, so that's right. So librarian stories await ahoy, as well as a memoir workshop teacher and speaker. So let's give it up, Miss L.W. herself, the lovely and wise Linda Wisniewski. How you doing today, Linda?
I am wonderful after that introduction. I could not be better. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. That's right. Especially seeing your smiling face today. It's like, oh, yeah. That's right. Today's going to be a great hump day indeed. The camels are extra happy.
Oh, great. Gotta keep them happy.
That's right. Happy humps.
Okay, that's as far as we're going with that.
And I didn't even get to the Black Eyed Peas song yet, so it's all good.
Yeah.
But hey, it's not about happy humps, it's about the wonderful Linda. So my goodness, but all of introductions are not allowed to be 37 days long, and I'm pretty sure you didn't see yourself as a writer at the age of 13. So am I filling in any cavities I may have missed about you?
No, actually, I did see myself as a writer at the age of 13. I did, even younger. It took me a while to get there, professionally, seriously. But I actually started writing when I was really tiny. Somebody gave me one of those little diaries with a key, and I started writing in there. And then my career took off when in elementary school, I won an essay contest about bread. And guess what I won? I won a coupon for a loaf of Monk's bread, which if you haven't heard of it, it is so good, and it's made by monks in upstate New York. So I would, starting to promote, I would say, go to their website, Monk's Bread. And now they, back when I won the contest many, many, many years ago, they were just making bread, but now they are making biscotti. And I ordered some. They are so good. So Monk's biscotti and Monk's bread was the start of my writing career. And it's been uphill ever since. Going north ever since. As opposed to going south, right? We never go south, only north.
That's what I'm talking about. How can I forget that important detail? That's right, you're the breadwinner. You won bread in your first ever writing contest.
That's right, breadwinner. I have to remember that. I am a breadwinner.
There you go. That's right, ladies. You're the breadwinner. You could do it. I won bread for writing some wonderful words. You could do it. Like, wait, what? Where the writing words bread? What was happening?
Well, yeah. And, you want the bread, the bread that comes from the cash sales, that kind of bread. But I just love that story because I remembered it all my life. The thrill of winning something for my writing.
Yeah, there we go, indeed. And plus an interesting story indeed, because folks will be like, wait, it's a bread. Oh, okay, that's cool. But it was Monk's bread, so it was special bread. All right.
Yes,
that all makes real sense now.
Not any ordinary bread, yes.
That's right, indeed. It's like Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull to get this bread, so y'all better be thankful.
Yeah, go visit those monks on their website. They're good guys, and they are good bakers.
There we go. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So speaking of bread, I hear you had a career as a librarian, but I'm sure it wasn't just starting there. There are a couple other wonderful side quests before becoming a librarian, right?
Yes, there were side quests, and I think I probably knew at the time that they were side quests. When I went to college, I was a major in medical technology because my aunt did that, and I loved her, and she was an inspiration to me. But I quickly learned in the college classroom that I didn't like some of the classes that I was taking, the organic chemistry and calculus. And so I quickly switched my major to sociology, which was very interesting to me. Didn't involve any Bunsen burners or lab experiments, but I find that I'm very grateful that I did that because sociology is about people, the study of people in groups and how they behave. And it's endlessly fascinating to me. And since then, I've used just about everything in my life in my writing. So I started out my career as a civil servant. I was a caseworker in the welfare department in Buffalo, New York, where I graduated from college, and that was eye-opening. And then I moved to Philadelphia with my first husband and worked there as in another civil service job for the Social Security Administration. I like to say I was a bureaucrat because basically that's what we did, pushing papers, filling out claims. But I just met some wonderful people. And what else did I do? Okay, so then I progressed to another civil service job where I was helping people find employment for the state of Pennsylvania, Bureau of Vocational Rehabilitation, counseling people that had handicaps and how to find jobs and overcome those handicaps. And in that job, I liked working with the clients, but I didn't like the system. I didn't like the bureaucracy and all the hoops and you have to jump through and all that garbage. So I said, I'm counseling people into finding what is their best career. I'm not happy. Maybe I should take the test. So I counseled myself into library school. And and then so I went to library school and then found that I really loved it and found my niche in life. I worked as a librarian for some major drug companies as a medical librarian. And then after my second marriage, my second child was born, I decided I wanted to stay home with him. And working at home was becoming much, much more viable with computers and the internet. So I became a consultant to marketing people in the drug industry. And through that, and different associations that I belong to of librarians, I was asked to write some technical articles about this new thing called the internet and how we use it to find information for our patrons. And loved that so much that I thought I really liked the writing. So I want to do more of that. And so I was, I would say, close to over 50 when I really seriously said, okay, I'm just going to do the writing. I had some part-time jobs in public libraries as a reference librarian, which gave me a lot of material for my second book, Where the Stork Flies, because the main character in there is a librarian. So that's my history, I guess, in a nutshell, my career. And, it's at first, when I look back and I thought, this is really herky-jerky, you're doing all these different things. But as I said in the beginning, everything comes together at some point in your life. When you look back, there's something you can use from almost every experience, good or bad. You learn about people, if you're open to it. I think that's the key. Just keep your eyes and ears open. And there's something that you can take from every job, every situation to make your life better and the lives of people around you. And certainly gives you plenty to write about and talk about. Don't you think, Dom?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about indeed. So I guess art imitates life. It's like, yay, a librarian's the main character. Hooray. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So how much of the job inspired the book? Was it like 30% inspiration, 50, 60, 5?
Well, I would say 30. The main inspiration for the book was a family tree that I saw at a family reunion up in upstate New York, where I'm from. One of my cousins had moved to, well, his daughter actually moved to Switzerland and went to Poland, which is where our family came from in the early 20th century, late 19th century, and traced the family as far back as she could go. So picture me and a group of female cousins. The men were interested, but the women, for some reason, we were just really fascinated by this ancestry. And we're looking at this paper of our family tree, and we're looking at the oldest, farthest back, earliest, that's the word, earliest ancestor that she was able to locate. And this woman was named Regina, and she was born in 1778. And that's all, well, we know, that's all we know, basically. We know who her husband was, the names of her kids, all the dates, but we don't know about her personality. And I find this is true about Ancestry, Ancestry.com and other sites, people doing genealogy research. You can find out the dates and the names, but rarely, sometimes you can find out what their occupation was. In my case, they were all peasants. they were actually serfs. They were serfs. But so you can find out maybe their job, but you can't find out what they were like, because nobody wrote that down anywhere until much more recently with the boom of memoir writing. But you can't find out if they were nice or nasty, what they thought about their situation in the world. So we started talking, and among my female cousins, we said, "Wow, what would she? I wonder what she would think of us. Our lives today are so different from what hers must have been, and so much better, right?" So I took that and I started writing about it, and started thinking, okay, is it really that much better? When I was a young woman, we had to bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan, right? We come a long way, baby. You can do it all. And we thought we had to do it all at the same time. We had to do it all at the same time, or we weren't a real woman, right? So a lot of us, myself included, drove ourselves a little bit nuts trying to be and do it all. And that causes a lot of stress, puts a lot of pressure on all of us. And so I wanted to look at that in writing. I wanted to bring that woman from 1778 into my world and examine what she would think. And I had, from what I just said, you can probably tell I had a pretty good idea of what she would think. So I used some humor in the book. Basically, she likes to kind of criticize or poke fun at the modern woman character who is a librarian. So it's not me. It quickly became a fictional character. And thinking that I was writing the book about this woman, Regina, I found that I was actually, the story was actually the modern woman whose name is Kat. It was her story. And she was trying to discover her best life and how she had screwed up in the process and what she could do to make it better. So that inspiration from that picnic, family reunion, family tree turned into this, for me, very fun journey.
Yeah, indeed. That's what I'm talking about. Indeed. Fun journey indeed. That's right. It's like, yeah, this is gonna be one of those secret novels where I'm just telling all my secrets and adventures. Like, ah, nah, this is too good. Like, nah, it ain't me. It's someone else. It's a totally different character. Trust me.
Mhm. Yeah. And also an interesting thing that happened to me was writing it. I realized, how is she going to look at your life in 2012, which I was writing about, without time traveling, right? She's got to come here. And then maybe we got to go there where she came from. So I did some research on time travel. And I'm not a scientist, I'm not an expert, and I like to read a little bit of time travel, but not a lot. So I took the idea of taking these two basically clueless women who are trying to flip back and forth in time, and they're having trouble with it. They're not doing it right. They can't quite do it, and when they do it, it's by accident. So I had some very serious topics about women and their lives, and I didn't want to make it a sad, difficult book, so I added some gentle humor.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So, what helped you to add that humor to the books? Was it life experience, or what helped you to really add the humor in? Because a lot of folks may have trouble with humor, heck, even in real life work, or even writing it.
Yeah, this is true. I like to laugh. I like to think that I have a good sense of humor, so I like to laugh at myself and some of the situations that I have seen, and I think it just basically lightens everything up. I mean, we all do take ourselves very seriously. And unfortunately, we live in a crazy, fraught time where there's a lot of anger and negativity. And I don't know, I just want to stop, take a breath, and just lighten up, lighten up a little. So, did I answer your question?
There you go. So humor comes from wanting to light up the room and actually not taking yourself too seriously. So that means you wear a penguin suit on occasion where folks aren't looking, right?
I would love a penguin suit. Where would I get one? They have any
That-
down in Baltimore there? No
eh,
penguin suit stores, no.
maybe have to look for them. And then we could bake sweet potato pies being wearing penguin
Yeah,
suits.
yeah. Well, we have a small group of women friends that a few years ago, one of them got the idea of going out to tea, fancy teas, high teas with little cakes and all that stuff. And so we were going around to all the different tea shops, and she collects hats, like really big hats with flowers and all. So we have pictures. We wore the hats, and that was fun. That was lighthearted and fun. We went out to tea wearing these big hats.
Ah, there you go. That's right. That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So, what was the most fun part about the time travel for the book itself since you had to go back in time and then had to go, well, then again, double back in time since it was said in 2012 where folks thought the world was going to end of all times?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I'm not a historian and I haven't studied a lot of history, but I studied enough to know that things do, and I lived long enough to know that things do come around, and I do believe that we are, as people, making progress, and we do take steps back, but I do believe that we take two steps forward and one step back. I do believe that as a species we do gently, slowly, achingly, agonizingly move ourselves forward. So going back in time, back into the world of 1778 Eastern Europe, which was where my ancestors lived, and Poland was not even a country. for many, many years. In this time period, it was ruled by Napoleon, so it was part of Austria, the Austrian Empire, at least that part in the southern area, south of Krakow near the Tatra Mountains. So I wanted to show bits of that, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not a historian. I didn't want to write a history book. So, and I wanted to write about common people like my ancestors, the serfs, because in my research, I found that there's a lot written about this time period and this part of the world, but it's all about the leaders, the kings, the emperors, the rulers, the generals. But, what about my little great grandmother Regina in her house number 24 in Wojtowa? Didn't even own the house or the land. It all belonged to the Lord. They called him the Pan, the landlord, the noble. They called them the Schlachta. Back in those days, they were the nobles. And I made the time travel kind of funny. She comes here by accident because she's praying at a shrine to the Black Madonna of Czestochowa. And she lands in this librarian's kitchen. And then they try to get her back home, and they travel to some Polish neighborhoods in Philadelphia because they think that there's some kind of energy there that's going to help them. And there is actually. They go in a bakery and they touch this oven that was built in the year that she wants to go back to, which is 1825. And they accidentally touch the oven and it flips them back into 1825. Yeah.
Ain't baking no cookies today.
Yeah. Not in that one anyway. Yeah. So, and then they get thrown back here because, well, I don't want to give away the secrets of the book, but they're basically not ready. So they get thrown back forward to America, 2012. And where was I going with that? Oh, I know. So they go up to this town where the main character is from originally, because they find in a book that, if you go to a place where there's a lot of your ancestral DNA, you can travel. You'd be surprised at the number of theories about time travel out there. So that's one of them that I found. So they go and they see this electrical tower that they think that it's going to have some power some energy to take them back in time. So they go up to the tower, and the main character Kat is calling it an antenna, and Regina, who's just trying to learn English and picking up all the wrong things, she's calling it Aunt Anna, and she keeps looking for Aunt Anna. So little malaprops that she uses, I use for humor. She likes to watch television because it helps her learn English, and she thinks that Love Boat she can really get on the Love Boat. It's really a real thing. So all the time travel is very, I would say, I try to make it funny and crazy. So when they arrive where they want to go, they get very sick and they're throwing up in the grass, and a lot of this came to me as advice from other writers. I was in a writing group while I was working on this, and they were saying, this is all too pat. If I was going to be transported 200 years back in time, I wouldn't just get up and brush myself off. I would be like, what the hell happened here? So I had to really pump it up, make it much more dramatic. And in doing that, I found a lot of humor in that situation.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So, with wonderful lessons like that and making things more dramatic and more hilarious, do you think that makes you even better suited to help folks write their memoirs?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've been doing this for a number of years, and I really enjoy it. And I find that, I don't know about you, Dom, but I find that when we talk about ourselves, our mothers taught us not to show off, right? So, right?
Yeah.
So don't be a show off. So you don't brag about yourself. So some of us maybe most of us minimize before we even start, oh, I wasn't really that big a deal, but I did this, So when I'm teaching people to write about the drama in their lives, oh, this is for my grandchildren because no one's going to be interested, else is going to be interested. No one's going to want to read this. Maybe they won't even want to read it. I just had this ordinary life. Well, yeah, but people want to read about ordinary lives too, because we read books to learn how to live. In many cases, I think in all cases, we read books to learn fiction, nonfiction. We read stories about real people or fictional people because we want to see how they handle things. So people who are going to be reading your memoir, for example, they want to hear how you handled the going south episodes, not just the going north, right? Because going north is can be difficult and can be fun and can be useful to share how to do it. But also, how do you handle it when everything goes south, right? Maybe you even handled it badly and you could write about that because people learn from that too. They could say, oh, I'm not the only one that made that mistake. She did too. And she picked herself up and went on. So really dramatizing how you felt, putting your feelings into that situation, your sorrow, your despair, your feelings of defeat, and then how did you go on from that? What inspired you further? And also, people, we're writing our memoirs, but we don't want to talk about ourselves, which is really crazy, right? So, for example, I taught at a senior citizens home, and their stories, of course, as you can imagine, are marvelous, from the mid 20th century or earlier. And I had this one gentleman who served in World War II and in the Pacific in Japan. And he was in some pretty dramatic situations, but the way he wrote about them, oh, I was in the Battle of Okinawa, and, happened on such and such a date, and I survived. So I said, pick one day when you were there, just one day, and write about that one day. He did it in like half an hour and he really nailed it. I mean, I wanted to read, I wanted more, I wanted to read because he really focused on what he saw. I said, write what you saw, what you heard, what you said, how you felt. Yes, scared. You write about that you were scared because there's going to be other people who are scared in battle and they might want to know that they're not alone. The other thing I found in my teaching is that after 9/11 happened in the United States, in New York and Pennsylvania and Washington, a lot of younger people, or well, not even so younger, people my age, were calling their parents if they were still alive in 1941 on December 7th, when Pearl Harbor was attacked, and saying, were you scared? Because I'm scared. Were you really scared? How was it? And they were lucky enough if they had parents who were living back then who would tell them, oh yeah, we were diving under the bed, we didn't know what to do. And that helped, I think. Look, we went on, the world went on. So I really encourage people to write about and pump it up. People say, oh, I don't want to be too dramatic. Be dramatic. Because we, as humans, most of us don't appreciate the trauma in our lives as much. So I find if you pump it up, it comes out just about right.
Heck yeah. That's right indeed. Pump it up. Give your metaphorical
Use a lot of
memoir
details,
some.
right?
That's right. Give it some espresso, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So, since you've been on this wonderful tour of guesting on these podcasts promoting your work, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
A question that I would ask. No, actually, I think I've heard a lot of questions, but I read one. I listened to a few of your episodes, And there was a question where you asked a writer, what if your book was a food, what would it be? And I thought about that and it made me laugh. And I thought, oh, okay, well, if he asks me that. So do you want to ask me that?
Oh yeah, that's usually the follow-up after this one anyway.
Oh, see,
So
I'm
yeah.
ahead. I'm ahead of you. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so what if it was a food?
Okay. Oh, but I thought of another question. All right. So the food, of course, since it's, set in Poland and it's got some food, Polish food in there, in America and in Poland. So it would have to be, you know what? It would have to be these little pierogies that I ate when I was in Warsaw in 2010. They're not like the pierogies you get here, although maybe somewhere you can find them. Their dough is so thin that you could see through it. And
Oh wow.
inside these pierogies was berries, like jam, fruit, blackberries and blueberries and strawberries. They were so good. So if my book was a food, it would be those pierogies, so good, so sweet, so delicate, and so enjoyable. So, and what was the other question? Oh, the other question I wish more people would ask me was, how long did it take to write this book? It took me about 10 years, I would say. I wasn't writing every day or even every week, I just picked it up and worked on it off and on until I really got serious about it and found the story and where I wanted it to go. Then I really spent a lot of time on it. But it took me a lot of time, a lot of research, and a lot of querying to find a publisher. I sent out over 100, I think 130, something like that, letters, and they all have to be personal and, to the agent or the publisher, individual and different. So my message, I guess, is don't give up. If you really want to have this published, don't give up. It took me a couple of years to find a publisher. Of course, I was doing other things, but yeah, but it takes a long time, and I don't think people realize how much time it takes. You have to really love what you're doing in order to continue with it.
Yeah, sure, especially with a project like this, like all the
Mm.
research that goes into it, and even though it's fiction, like hey, you still want it to have some semblance of reality a bit, so that way the extra anal folks will be like, hey, this doesn't exist, like you got it all wrong. It's like you're making stuff up.
Yeah, well, yeah, we are. We are. That's what fiction is, right? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes,
And
indeed.
I was surprised too that the book was classified as science fiction. So when you go inside the book, they have these little subject headings. And this is like nerdy, but this is fabulous for librarians who might be listening. The cataloging and publication data. So the Library of Congress has you write down the subjects of the book so that when people are looking for this kind of subject online, they will find it. And it was classified as science fiction. And when I saw that, I said, no, I don't write science fiction. I don't really like science fiction. I don't read it. But according to the Library of Congress, time travel is a form of science fiction.
Yep.
And so, of course, then I had to look into that and realize that what I was writing, it is time travel, but it also has some elements of magic in it. So especially the one character who is a guide to the old lady and the librarian, she uses some magic to help them along. So I decided, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. I'm writing magical realism. So other writers like Toni Morrison, Alice Hoffman, they write about the real world. It's not science fiction. it takes place in the real world, the story, but there's little magic tricks in it. Ghosts appear, smells. We were talking earlier about whenever the medieval queen of Poland pops into this scene, the characters smell roses because that was associated with her in her lifetime. There's a story about her having an apron full of roses. So I added little magic things like that. Now, it happened in the real world, but I made it up.
That's right. And it's a good thing you did too to make it even more enjoyable indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's right indeed. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're at 25 again, but you're in 2022 with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
25 again, but with all my knowledge and experience. Well, first of all, I don't think I'd want to be 25 again. but you're right, with all the knowledge and experience, yeah, I would be okay, I guess, with the energy and the strength and the body and all. If I was to, okay, I'll try to be serious about this, but I'm just thinking about
Oh,
it.
be playful. It's
All right.
okay. This is a show
Okay.
for play, darn it.
Okay. So I got a serious answer and a playful answer. But one of the things my friends who are my age always say about when we were younger is that why didn't we have the really good clothes back then? Like when we had the body that we could wear them, I mean, the clothes that we had back in the 60s, we have mini skirts and, crazy things like that. But yeah, so we kind of regret that we didn't have the good stuff that we could wear, and the hair, all the stuff we had to do with our hair, and the rollers and all that garbage. But I will leave that behind. That 25-year-old now has the knowledge of my many years, and I would just say, don't try so hard to please other people. Enjoy the moment because it goes by quickly. And that's it, really. Don't worry so much about what you look like or what you sound like or what other people think about what you're doing. It's got to be about what is coming to you from your heart and from spirit. Whatever is inspiring you to go forward in your life is what you need to do. And if we were supposed to get it all right the first time, what is even the point of being here?
Heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about indeed. That's right indeed. So you heard that right, folks. That's right indeed. 25-year-old version of Linda is wearing a miniskirt handing out pierogies, y'all. That's right. That's right indeed. That's right indeed.
Delicious pierogies.
That's right indeed with a capital D, y'all. That's right. Delicious.
Smacznego or smaczny. The Polish means delicious. Smaczny.
There we go. We got some Polish in the building, baby. He didn't even have to use the sausage reference. Oh, man. So, for those who need to dive in more into your wonderful work that you have out now and in the future and keep up with all the wonderful things that you're doing, Linda, what's the best way for folks to do so?
Best way is to go to my website, lindawis.com. From there, you'll see links to my Instagram, Facebook, writer account. What else am I on? Twitter. My Twitter handle's on there. I have a blog that I write once a month. You can read that and you can comment on it. I would love to hear from people. You can sign up for my newsletter there. You can read and see ways to order my 2 books. Off Kilter is the memoir, and Where the Stork Flies is the magical realism novel. I think that's enough. Just head to my website and send me a note.
Woo! Well, there you have it, folks. We're going to put the links to all of Linda's stuff in the show notes. Indeed, head over to a wonderful website, leave her a love note, be like, hey, Linda, you're freaking amazing. Gonna buy both of your books and give copies to my friends and
There
family.
you
Heck,
go.
even hide one on a camel hump, indeed. So that way folks in the desert can know about some good old time travel, indeed, y'all. That's right, indeed. And be on the lookout for more of her wonderful work, because I'm pretty sure she's got some more books cooking in her wonderful mind right there. She's cooking, that's right. She's stirring the pot, y'all. That's right. In a good way. She's stirring the pot. That's right, indeed. So, any parting words before we close up shop?
Oh, it's been fun. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I appreciate your lightheartedness and happy attitude and warm persona in these times. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day and continue to do many more of these podcasts.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one listening right now. Thanks a bunch for sharing some of your time out of your day to listen to this podcast. To take it to the next level, be sure to share it with someone that you care about and that would get something out of this podcast too. Advance others to advance yourself.